Hello there, we're live from our studios here in Kokomlimle. Our digital address GA0992539. This is your home of fearless, credible and independent journalism. Our lead stories this hour. Fix the Country gets green light to hit the street as Supreme Court sets aside a High Court order barring the pressure group from embarking on a protest. We hear the arguments made leading to the decision and what happens next. Also, guarding against violent extremism, we hear the details of Ghana's first and new national security strategy as the entity identifies economic mismanagement, injustice, and what it calls state capture by political elites as threats to the nation's security. And we continue our talk about making Accra a city to be proud of. This afternoon, we scrutinize the Greater Accra Region Minister's strategy and suggest ways forward. He will be live in the studio and would love to take your questions for him. Join us on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. Remember that we're streaming live on YouTube and your social media handles. WhatsApp us, especially your questions for the minister on 0540109009. That's 0540109009. What is your idea of a clean or great Accra? We'll talk about it later on the show. My name is Gifty Andwapia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. In what could be described as a blunt depiction, the National Security Ministry has identified mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy, injustice and state capture by a group it describes as political elite. It says this group poses a major threat to the country, the security of the country. Captured in the National Security Strategy document developed to govern operations of the Secretariat, the National Security Secretariat warns the issues, if not tackled, could lead to extremist behavior, which could further degenerate into violent extremism. Presidential correspondent Elton Robbie has been studying the document and reports.
Reporting on the domestic, regional and global threats, risks and challenges confronting Ghana, the document points to a number of security threats and risks that confront the country, particularly in the area of human security, as a result of some perceived or actual deficit in one or the other tenets of good constitutional democratic governance. For them, mismanagement, injustice, state capture by a group of political elite, weak and ineffective institutions all tend to negatively affect the quality of governance and could spiral into various forms of indiscretion that could be indicators of bad governance. Issues such as the imbalanced allocation of resources and opportunities to identify groups, poor service delivery, systemic exclusion and marginalization, which could in turn lead to a rejection of generally accepted social norms and values and further status quo. The report also points to the failure by political leadership across board to reach consensus and implement constitutional reforms such as the deepening of decentralization. These issues, according to the report, can lead to extremist behavior, which could further degenerate into violent extremism. It concludes by saying both extremism and violent extremism are risks to our national security interests. Kandapa is the National Security Minister.
May I assure all Ghanaians that we pledge to respect the rule of law, fundamental human rights, and freedoms of all Ghanaians as enshrined in the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. But let me also caution that the respect for human rights cannot, must not be compromised with strategic threats to national security.
Bribery and corruption, according to the report, rank higher on our national security risk register over the years, considering its prevalence and negative impact on our social security interests. It says the canker were assessed as having become virtually systemic in the Ghanaian society. The report says corruption in Ghana comes in various shades and forms and cuts across the national politics, administration and bureaucracy, as well as the private sector, with considerable debilitating consequences for the growth and socio-economic development of the country. Kickbacks from the award of public contracts are all forms of corruption that defy our existing response mechanism considerably and create risks to our national security interest.
Elton Robbie filed that report. So what do you make of these threats identified by the national security? That's the question that we put to some Ghanaians on the streets of Accra. Listen.
Yes. I agree with it. Especially with the mismanagement of the economy. That one is a very, very big problem. Because right now there's no job in the country, and then the youths are finding ways and means to make money, which is not acceptable, which is not legal. That is causing the fraud, and then the sakawa, and then all those stuff. So it's not a good idea. Even just today, the price of oil has gone up, and so it's a very, very bad thing. I think the government should react to it. It's not encouraging. Right now, more employment.
In this system, we've realized most of these youths are unemployed. I'm getting it, yeah. And the rate at which living is very high. So youth finds ways and means by which they can survive, as well as our politicians. We've realized most of our politicians are not really into our youth, trying to help us. So the youth thinks putting themselves into all these crimes is the ways by which they can generate their revenue to live. Well and foremost, I think all will depend on our politicians. Yes, all will depend on politicians. Since they are our leaders, they play a major role, in the government of the government. So, like, as our politicians, they should try to educate the youth, like ways and means by which the youth can able to find jobs.
The findings that they've brought out is true, because a lot of crimes that is happening in the country is because of job. Somebody will complete school, and then at the end of the day, she have to sit in the house for like 3 years, 4 years. Our parents, they can't take care of you during school, and then in the house too, you have to be a burden. So I think that the government have to create more jobs. There have to be more jobs, at least open some jobs that the youth can depend on.
Me, I think it's lack of education. Yes, because in our school, we come to school, we are being taught different things. When we go out, we do different things. Some people, they don't even understand what they are learning in the school. They don't understand the subjects. They don't understand anything. They are just passing through the school like that. And they will come out not knowing what to do. They will come out doing what their parents want them to do and not what they like to do. In the end, they won't know anything. At the extreme age of their life, particular age, when they see that they can't really do much again, then they will turn on relying on any other thing, maybe stealing, the fraud and all that.
So those are voices from the streets, Ghanaians sharing their thoughts on this. Let's talk a bit more about this as we analyze the findings. Joining us on the line now is local governance expert Frederick Ejaku Odro. Ms. Odro, thank you for your time this afternoon. A good day to you. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me, please?
Great, loud and clear. So you say that the political system as it stands has failed the people. That's an argument that we've heard over the years. In your view, as a governance expert, what could be done to deal with these threats as highlighted by the National Security Ministry itself?
I think we need institutional reform in our governance system. The Constitution is presently not working. We've put too much power in the hands of the executive, particularly the presidency. And it's about time we discuss this firmly and agree on some of these things. We've had two wonderful opportunities which we tend, because of our inability to agree amongst ourselves, we couldn't make much of. First was the Constitutional Review Commission. Nothing came out of it. Then was the election of the MMDCs, which we also, because of lack of consensus, we couldn't work on. These are critical things we need to look at if we can get our system to deliver. Otherwise, we'll keep on going around the circles. There will always be winner takes all. There will always be issue of patronage, because I'll always fight for my government to come into power, especially I'll always fight to win the presidency. Once I have that, I will look to get all the opportunities, and everybody is left out of the loop. So we need to talk sincerely about, constitutional reforms, changing the way we do certain things, empowering key institutions. As we speak, I don't think Parliament is strong enough, notwithstanding the current the composition. I still think we need to work at ensuring we give enough powers to the Parliament to play the oversight role it is expected to do.
The ministry itself lists 3 things, and I want to just take your thoughts on these 3 things that it lists. I mean, the ones that we've highlighted in our report today. Economic mismanagement. It talks about economic mismanagement, but we've had government also express for us several times the reason why there hasn't been economic mismanagement, but rather management of a situation left to them by a previous government, which they call terrible. But we're seeing that raised in this national security document. From a governance perspective, what does this say, and how can we work around this as a country to build public confidence in the system?
Yeah, I mean, the issue of economic mismanagement, it comes back to lack of accountability in so many things, lack of adequate oversight, but more especially, as a country, we don't even know what we want. Collectively, we can't build consensus. So once somebody is in power, one party must do all it can to remove that party. And once the other party also gets into power, it sees the other side as opposition and will do anything not to consider whatever they say. I mean, some years ago, we wanted to have a national economic development plan for about 50 years or so. What kind of consultations did we do? These are the challenges because our system is so adversarial. We can't build consensus. So it's one accusation after the other. We also don't have strong state institutions. As we sit here, if you take an institution like the Ghana Statistics, I think the Statistics Authority, I've forgotten the name.
Yes.
I mean, if you go to other countries, you have Office of National Statistics that will give information as to the current state of the nation, and everybody will take it as the truth. If you want to know currently how many schools under trees do we have, what is the rate of depreciation of our CD over the period, every time it's one party saying it is this, another party saying it is that.
Right.
We don't even have an institution we can all go to and say, indeed, this is the situation and we all accept it. We don't even know the number of schools we have. How many teachers do we have in the country? How many doctors do we have? So if we can build the country, we need to have strong institutions we can all trust. And out of these institutions, we can know that indeed this is where this party took the country from. And this is where it is taking it to. Otherwise, everything is adversarial. And half of the time, political parties are so powerful. You can't, when they say something, and you say anything contrary to what they say, they put you in a particular position and say, oh, you belong to the side, or you belong to that side. So sometimes even independents are careful as to what they want to say.
Yeah.
So we've left everything for the politicians to determine whether the country is improving or it's not improving. So we need to have stronger institutions that we can all trust, that can tell us where we are at every given time. And then we also need to build consensus as to what we want to do with the country, so that if you come in and we all have agreed that by this period, this is where we want to be, these are the kind of infrastructure we want to have, and you come in during that period and you fail to do that, that's even enough for us to assess you on whether as a government you've performed or you've not performed.
It's interesting, the analysis you made with that first point, which is economic mismanagement, because it then seemed to, what you say ties into the state capture that the document refers to, as well as what it says is injustice. All of these things working against our national security. And I'm not sure you'll have anything else to add to these two, but if you do, you can go ahead. Then again, you talked about institutional or constitutional reforms. That's a conversation we've had over the years. It doesn't look as though that's something we're going to do immediately. In the absence of that, what do you think we can do in terms of where to start from, since our own national security ministry is telling us that these are problems that could lead to violent extremism?
Well, I think if this is coming from the national security ministry, we must take it serious. One, they are part of government. And if the government itself is conceding that we stand, there's an existential threat to the nation, if we don't fix some of these things, I think I will also want to see the government stretching a hand of cooperation towards other key parties, especially the major opposition party. And I will also hope that if there's a genuine willingness for engagement, we need all hands on deck, because this is one country. There is not much we can do except to fix the challenge facing us. And if we can all agree to do so without trying to make partisan capital out of it, I think it can be all well and good for all of us. So I will plead that we need our political actors to play their role to ensure that as a country, we can overcome some of these key challenges that we see coming ahead of us.
So thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Frederick Odro is a local governance expert there, giving us his thoughts on where we take this revelation or this finding by the National Security Ministry, which, by the way, has now launched Ghana's national security strategy in our first new national security policy, by the way, which came with a new office for the ministry. You're watching The Pulse with me, Gitsi and Dopia. What do you think about this? Also, like I indicated, we'll have the Greater Accra Region Minister here in the studio. What is the Accra that you will be proud of? What do you want to see in that Accra that you will be proud of? The minister will be here. Now, I'd love to take your thoughts and your questions for him on how he takes this agenda forward. What is the strategy? We'll be talking to the minister when we return from this break. Your messages should come to WhatsApp number 0540109009. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Like I said, we have the Greater Accra Region Minister here in the studio. Well, for some time now, he's been embarking on the Make Accra Great agenda. How well do you understand this agenda? Because for this agenda to thrive and to be successful, you need the public to buy in. So how do we get involved in this and how do we make it successful? What is the strategy? And what are your thoughts? What are your suggestions on the way forward and how we can make it successful? Well, I have the minister here in studio. We'll have this conversation, but this is your show, so we want to hear from you. We want you to talk to your minister. Henry Quartey is the Honorable Minister for the region. He's here. Mr. Quartey, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
How is it going?
Well, one day at a time.
One day at a time?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good.
Under the unction of the Almighty God.
Okay, so if you were to assess the progress made so far on the agenda, the Make Accra Great agenda, what would you say?
Well, first of all, I think that I have been trying to get this thing corrected, and forgive me,
okay. It's fine.
Crave your indulgence to do so. It is "Let's make Accra work" is a tagline.
Okay.
So we cannot change it
Let's
to say "Make Accra work."
work.
Yes. So I think they should change it on the system for
we'll
viewers.
We'll fix that. Let's make Accra
Let's
work.
make Accra work.
Okay.
That's a tagline.
Okay.
Right.
What's your assessment of how it's gone so far?
Well, I think you should be the better judge.
From your perspective?
Yes, because I wouldn't know exactly how I'm doing. You should be able to tell me. And of course, your cherished listeners and viewers will be the best judges to tell, not me, because I'm the humble servant of the president for the region, and I work with a team. That's the Regional Coordinating Council.
We will bring our viewers in and we've asked them, we've put the number out there for them to assess you. But for every project, any person behind every project has their goals and they have their objectives, and they are able to access at every point in time whether they are at a place where they like or where they think there's much more work to be done. So from your perspective, what is it?
Well, if that's a line of question, then I'll say that we haven't gotten there at all. Okay. The train has just taken off. And usually it's like traveling on a long journey. The car warms up first. So this is just a warming. It's like you go to a restaurant and then they bring you the menu chart. And then they serve you the starter, the golden fried shrimps and all that. Then you go to the main course.
It certainly seems like a daunting task. given the problems that we all know we have here in the city. But walk us through the strategy. What is the strategy?
Well, if you recall, a few years ago, Mr. President made a clarion call by saying that he wants Accra to be the cleanest city by the time he finishes his term of office. And I'm challenged and indeed motivated by that speech to walk the president's talk. So all we are doing is to ensure that by the grace of God, we bring the necessary changes that will ensure that by 2024, God willing, Accra will be counted amongst one of the cleanest cities, if not in West Africa, or for that matter, Africa. So we are able to ensure that the President has realized his vision of making Accra clean.
You talk about making the necessary changes. That's where I believe a lot of Ghanaians are interested in. What are these changes that you want to make? You want to, bring that will make Accra work? Do we know the specifics we're looking at here?
Well, changes can be interpreted in different ways. Attitudinal, behavioral, they are all part of it. Now, I heard you asking a question earlier on before I came on set. If you look back from independence, where has Accra been? How far have we come? Where are we today? And where do we intend to go? As people who live in a cosmopolitan region, are we satisfied with the way Accra is looking like in terms of discipline, in terms of sanitation, in terms of even our educational system, in terms of how we are managing our health system and all that? That is not to say that government has not on its own done what it has to do. But I think that as persons living in this region, we have a responsibility to also play our parts. Indeed, I keep making these references that the same Ghanaian buys a ticket and he says he's going on a holiday. Where does he go to? Dubai. He arrives in Dubai and he starts taking the selfies. Escalators, beautiful city, very clean, span clean. And he spends 2 weeks there. Whilst there, okay, he respects or obeys all the rules there. He or she doesn't drop a litter where he or she shouldn't do so. He doesn't pass urine anyhow. He doesn't park his car anyhow. He fixes his seat belts. 2 weeks, he complies with all the regulations. Then he arrives in Ghana on the 15th day, right from the airport. He throws the rubbish away. And he still thinks that the government has to fix it. That is where the challenge is. So we are getting to a point where I think that all of us, as persons living in this region, must make a conscious effort in coming along with the agenda of making Accra, Greater Accra work.
So my understanding from what you said is that the major challenge you're facing in executing this strategy is attitudinal.
It's not a challenge.
It's not a challenge?
No. See, when you begin to see challenges before you embark on a journey, you never get to your final destination. No, it's rather a determination for me, backed by the Regional Coordinating Council and also your good self as a media, collaborating with the efforts in ensuring that we have this decongestion and attitudinal, behavioral changes to get to the final destination. But I don't see challenges to be in my way to begin this exercise. If I do so, then I'll be complaining. And I don't want to complain. But
I mean, there are challenges, there are genuine challenges. I mean, you do your SWOT analysis, everybody is looking out for what is the problem to, the hurdles to sort of deal with to get to the objectives.
So you see, you just hit the nail right on the head. The challenges are there. They've been in existence for a long period, okay? And so that is why there is that drive, there is that determination, there is that motivation to try and get it right, fix the wrongs. So I don't want to go and stand at Mokola, for instance, or sit here and say, oh, there's too much rubbish by the roadside. No, I want to tell you that we are putting in effort to try and make the place clean. So we are making progress.
Okay, so the strategy, which was a question that I asked, is to remove debt, to make the place clean to change the attitude?
As much as possible, making the greater Accra region.
I just want it to be clear for people.
It is
who are
very
watching.
clear.
Yeah.
It is very clear.
But it's not clear to me as yet.
Very well.
So help me.
Okay.
I believe that if I'm speaking on behalf of the people.
Very
I
well.
don't understand, probably they don't. So
Okay.
let's help them.
All right.
And help each other here. So my understanding of what the strategy is to deal with the attitude, not problem of people. The way people
Attitude and
behave.
behavior.
Okay. And then the next one is to rid the city of filth.
Absolutely.
That's part of it. So rid the city of filth.
Which
And then-
includes indiscipline. And that is the captain of all the issues in Greater Accra.
Okay.
It's like the chairman of the problems.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this the strategy for let's make Accra work?
Well, it is.
That is a strategy.
That's the agenda, actually.
Okay.
You see, once you tackle indiscipline, it has a lot of roots or branches, I may say. And so we want to look at indiscipline in general in the region. I.e., somebody goes to Accra and thinks that, okay, he or she wants to sell. So they erect an unauthorized structure on the land and thinks that, no, you can't do that elsewhere. So why are you doing that here?
Right.
Right. Okay. So you see, that's why I'm saying that it's not the challenges, it's the problems that we have to fix. Mr. President gives a directive. It says nobody should use sirens, and somebody is using siren. Why is the person using it?
Indiscipline, you
Yes.
say. Okay. So what is the plan to deal with this? We know what you've started doing already. Run us through the plan so that it is clear once again in the mind of people so you can bring them on board.
So the plan is, I've sat here in this same room, this same studio, perhaps on a different platform. And I've said clearly, and I've also indicated to the other media platforms that we are working on what I call the Accra Bible. Okay. You don't want a situation where a certain Henry Quarter comes to do something for 3 months or 1 year or whatever, and then next time he will be remembered like we remember the Salifu Amankwaz and the Dre Blanksons and the Oko Vanderpoys. You want a document that we can work with. And as we go along, we've put people together who are taking their time to write this document for us, which we'll call the Accra Bible. We will also be mindful of the laws governing this country and, of course, the Local Government Act, so there is no contradiction, if you like. So that will guide us on the issue of sanitation. For instance, I mean, today I've just come from the Independence Square, where I joined His Excellency, the Commander-in-Chief and the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to commission a first batch of 500 vehicles that Zoom Lion is bringing into the country, and they are mainly compactors. Now, hitherto, if I may digress a bit, I mean, it falls in. Hitherto, you'll find that 3, 4, or more assemblies, for that matter, are allocated with one compactor. So, for instance, Yawaso Central Assembly will have all manner of refuse by the roadside, and that compactor is somewhere in Soweto, trying to clear the place. I've been able to lobby the boss of Zoom Lion. So hopefully from next week, each assembly is going to get a minimum of one compactor on its own. So places like Ayawaso West Wogon, large area, we'll try and give them about 3 compactors. And the MMDCs will have no cause to now tell the RCC that they are not unable to lift the rubbish. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And once they do that, we are looking at also getting the assemblies to pass the bylaws. Don't forget, I keep saying this, that Henry Quarter has not got the power. I don't have the locus to enforce the laws, but a collaboration with the assemblies, because the assemblies have been clothed with the powers to enforce the laws. Okay? So we will get them to pass the bylaws to ensure what we call the operation Clean Your Frontage. So that JoyNews or multimedia will be responsible for their frontage. And so if we come with our task force and then your gutters are choked, we fine you. So very soon that will be launched across the country, across the region. Once we do that, assemblies will do the principal streets, clear the gutters, but then each household, each business, each company, individual is responsible for their immediate environment. And I think that is only fair for us to do that. That will be the beginning of sending the awareness to people that so if you sit and watch unconcerned for somebody to drop refuse in your gutter, well, The assembly will come and you pay the fine. Very soon, it's part of the indiscipline. So I don't want to look at sanitation alone. You know that motorbikes has been a menace in this part of the region. The Regional Security Council, of which I'm a chairman, have met and we've put a committee together, and the committee is looking at the modalities very soon once we are able to get the big house to actually look into it. We will announce for the motor riders just to abide by all the traffic regulations in this region. And I keep restricting myself to the region because I'm only a servant of Greater Accra. I'm not the local government minister. So we're saying that you ride a motorbike. First point of call, you should have your helmet on. Second point of call, in fact, rather the other way around, your motorbike must be properly registered. It must be properly insured. And then the fact that you ride a motorbike does not give you the right to go through a red light. No. You have to abide by all the traffic regulations as a motorbike rider.
And how are we going to ensure that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The modalities will come out. I'm just giving you the heads up.
It will be in the Bible?
No, this is going to come out in about 2-3 weeks. No, the Bible will be launching it around August. Okay. And with the Bible, we intend to give all the media houses a copy. So when you invite me here, you just open chapter 1 and see, okay, on the issue of security, this is what you should be doing. How far have you gone? I want us to do that.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I said in the beginning that we are doing the status.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The golden fried streams and all that. That's what we're doing now.
So
then we go to the main course.
Okay, so the motor riders and the plan you have to make them comply with traffic regulations and other regulations. You said that program is going to
maximum 3 weeks here. Maximum 3 weeks.
What is that program called? Is it a special program under the Let's Make Accra Work agenda?
Most of these things are already, they have laws already, and so we just want to enforce them. And then it's going to come under the Let's Make Accra Work agenda. And so we have the road safety, the MTT, the Department of the Ghana Police Service all coming on board to ensure the enforcement.
I'm asking this because these interventions are not necessarily new. These are things that we know we should do. These are things that, you know, sometimes we will do and then we give up at a point. So I want to find out what really is new in this particular agenda, the way we want to implement it.
That is why I said that there are the laws already, and so we are going to ensure the strict enforcement of these laws. And indeed it's new because I'm sure that today when you're driving and you see a motorbike parked by you, obeying the traffic regulations, you say, okay, this is something new. Although in your mind you know that the laws are there. I've heard people commend the exercise because they are able to commute from places like Fafraha, Dodoa, and all, going through Medina Zongo Junction, and they think that, travel time is reduced. Well, they always travel on that road, don't they? But this time around, it's new to them because they spend less hours or minutes in traveling, so it's still new.
Okay, I have some questions here that people have sent through, and I'll read them to you. Some thoughts that people are sharing, I'll read them to you, Mr. Minister. But I want you to take a look at this conversation. We had this conversation on Friday. We asked people to have, share their thoughts on us or what they want to see in their city. And we had the perspective from Rwanda, which is said to be one of the cleanest countries in our region. We wanted to find out how they have done it, and then I'll take your thoughts on this. So this is Andrew Gatera. Andrew is a travel and tour guy. He shared how they manage, their situation in Rwanda. Take a look.
Rwanda is doing a couple of things, and as you realized, we have 2 major steps that we have taken. One step is we set up a cleaning day, and every month everyone goes to the street or the neighborhood to make sure our environment, our neighborhood is clean. This is mandatory, and this is monitored by the community leaders. So this has been effective, and it's kind of, I cannot say it is voluntary, but it's part of the requirement of the citizens. So even the president, the ministers, everyone in the country does that. And when the cleaning day comes along during that whole month, everyone knows I have to go and clean my neighborhood with my neighbors. So that has been very effective. Step 2, we have this cleaning fee that every person, every household, or every office, or every business has to pay on a monthly basis. So it's a kind of, you can call it a tax, but it's not really that kind of taxes you pay over the goods sold, but it's a mandatory fee you have to pay as a cleaning fee for people who collect garbage. And this money goes to the local government that handle this kind of ensuring the city is clean.
Andrew Gatera there, and those pictures are the videos that I took when I visited Rwanda recently. So Mr. Minister, he talks about the mandatory cleaning that they've instituted, which is monitored. They pick local leaders or opinion leaders who supervise these cleanings because they feel they are more closer to the people. And then the cleaning day, each month they have a cleaning day where something that we started, I think, during the
Julius Deborah's
exactly, which
the
we
former regional minister, now then former chief of staff.
Yes, which we seem to have given up on. And then they have the sanitation, what he's calling cleaning fee, which you say the sanitation levy. I want to take your thoughts on that and how perhaps that can...
How I wish this interview that you had with him was live. So
it was live. Now.
So I could ask him some questions. You see, it's like going to the restaurant and then you serve the meal on the table, but you want to find out what the chef did in the kitchen. Because when they started this exercise, it was serious. Soldiers were beating people and all that. And you are the media. I mean, Medina Zongo Junction, we asked people to wave at people, and then we saw human rights activists coming to say, hey, you are infringing on their rights. So today, we are comparing Rwanda to Ghana. But the question is that, have you been able to dig deep to know how the exercise started? If only the media can support us in Greater Accra to go that same way, then we are in good shape. If only the media would not go to a place like Agbogbloshi or behind Beyeman, where scrap dealers have occupied a place for 10 years, and they are contributing to hazardous e-waste, which positions Ghana as #1 in West Africa. If only the media will not go there after we have done the exercise to go and say, oh, so now, I think it was Joy. Thousands of people displaced. There you go.
Are you saying that when people are displaced, the media shouldn't report?
But have they been displaced? Because Rwanda, you compare Rwanda, you interviewed somebody, and I'm saying that, do we know how they started? I'm not saying we shouldn't, but then the question is, were they doing the right thing? No, they were not. You go there, and they have taken over a place, and because of that, we have flooding. Because of that, it contributed immensely to the flooding on June 3rd disaster. Nobody wants to remember June 3rd disaster because it is not the best, and we don't want to experience it anymore. But I can tell you, look, when you, from here, Odo and all that, we have a wide storm drain and all that. Go to Agbogbloshi as we speak. They have filled the Koli Lagoon with sawdust. And they've built, kiosks and all that on it. So the water returns. And when it returns, the first place it hits is the Beyeman area, Litap, and then it comes to the Odo, and then it's flooding around Circle. So today, when we go clearing them, rather we expect the media to say, you were not doing the right thing. These were the reasons why we had a June 10th, so we can make progress. So maybe in your future reportage, you should point out to the people that Henry Korte or the RCC is not being insensitive to them, but rather, we want to make Accra work.
We want to make Accra work.
Yes.
Let me just read to you some of the messages I'm getting, and probably end this with what's happening at Abosokai and how we can do it to make Accra work. This message says is from Setou Goso and Ahafo region. Says, make Accra work again is very brilliant initiative, but as to whether Honorable Korte's own political party will allow him to exhibit his skills. Okay, so I don't know if that's a question. But that's what this person says. I'll just take like 3 more and then probably take your thoughts on it. This one says, a high unemployment Okay, he's talking about something different. So let me move on. Says that the major way to make Accra work is to ensure that the law governing sanitation works, especially the traders. The traders pay tax every day, but at the end of the day, no one is there to clean the market. So two things she's saying here is to make the law governing sanitation work, especially among the traders, and to also make sure that the taxes collected from the traders are put to work. I like your smile, Mr. Minister. I'll take your thoughts on it. Let me just add one more to it, and then I'll take the next batch of 3. This one says the best way to develop Accra is to decentralize various ministries' main offices to various regions in the country. This will help in the reduction of congestion in Accra and enhance the development of the country as a whole. Joseph Oku said that from Ho. So 3 messages. Let me take your thoughts and then I move to the next 3.
Well, first of all, decentralizing Accra, being the capital city, has its own financial implications and has to go through a lot of processes. But in the meantime, I keep asking the questions, the rhetorical ones. So the fact that you pay tax will warrant you to go and pour rubbish into the storm drain because you are paying tax. It's not right. When you go to developed countries, they pay taxes all right. That is why you see the 99.99. But then, they don't just dump refuse anyhow. So I think that we should be also, with the greatest of respect, help the environment in which we live in. Because I keep saying it's a cosmopolitan region. We all school here, we do business here, we work here, we do everything here. And in the end, most of us will retire living here. So we have a responsibility as Ghanaians, as people living in this region, to ensure that we do the right thing. And getting the right thing done is where the problem is. Look at the picture in front of you. Deliberately, people have dumped refuse into a gutter. You go there, you want to clean it, and they say, why have you come? Because they have structures, they are unauthorized structures. And these are the things that, by the grace of God, we will move. For instance, you have people who are dealing in onions. I don't know if you've been following the story.
I have.
Yes. Yes, Agbogboloshi area. Now, again, you can show viewers what during President Kufuor's time was done for them. That was about 16, 17 years ago. Government under President Kufuor's time acquired acres of land for them at Ajenkotoku, and even went ahead to use the taxpayers' money to build a very beautiful area for them. Over 50 years, they have not moved an inch because they say the place is far. Today, we want to get them to go there, and what are they saying? They will not move. And we are saying, and I'm sure they'll be listening, that by the 1st July, God give us life and strength, we will move them.
The regional minister, this person says, the regional minister is doing very well, so everybody should support him, especially the media. You don't add your name, but the number seems like a number from the UK. Thank you for sending your message. Thomas from Nalerugu says, Parliament should be allowed to create state institutions that are solely responsible and independent for strategic, okay, you're talking about national security story, strategic economic development planning, etc. All right, thank you for your message. Good afternoon. This one says, please tell the minister not to leave any stone unturned. Accra belongs.
I like that spirit. I like that spirit, man. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
It says Accra belongs. Okay, you mean that Accra is in his hands now? He says Accra. So this is what he says. Let me read to you. He says Accra belongs to him, and he is a Ghan, and must make sure posterity will be proud about him, and we Ghans are proud of him. Eric Latte Lakai Kokrobite. Send that from Accra here.
Accra is in the hands of God, and we are all in it.
Okay. Thomas, thank you for your message. Okay. Lakaya, thank you for your message. This one says, Doris from Gambia. He says, really enjoying the program. Here in Gambia, we don't use plastics. The government banned plastic and the country has been cleaner than ever. That's one strategy that Rwanda uses as well. Do you want to comment on that as far as what Ghana can do? Accra, let's say.
I think it's a wonderful idea because I've been to Yaya Jammeh's place, I think Niger or so. I went for a conference there and strictly there are no plastics. They do just this bottled water. Gradually, we should be able to get, that's policy matter. And I'm sure that the local government minister at some stage may want to attempt.
Do you think you can start something in Accra?
Well, I'm not able to do that. Let's not get this thing wrong.
With the bylaws again?
No, you see, these are policy issues, and we don't run the governor type of appointments in Ghana. I'm just a regional minister. Right. If I'm a governor, then I take decisions and I'm responsible for it. But this is a policy that has to go to a sector ministry. I don't have the locals to do that.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see how that works as well. This one says, Gifty, Simon, my question for the regional minister is for how long is Accra going to be the cleanest city in Africa, as the president indicates? I'm not sure, are you asking how long that it will take for that to happen, or are you saying when it happens, how long it will stay clean? I'm not quite sure. He says the minister is doing a great job and he should rather replace the president.
Hey, please, delete that one immediately, I beg you. Hey, Ade, I want me to lose my job. I beg, please.
Okay. Okay, so let's say this one says, so Simon, thank you for your message. The minister said delete that part of it. He doesn't want to lose his job. This one doesn't add a name, but says good policies, but leadership is killing the country. We always want to implement policies, but enforcement of the policies, no one wants to pursue that.
That's what we are enforcing now. We're doing the enforcement rate.
Okay.
Yeah, the laws are there, but it needs the enforcement, and we're doing it.
So it looks like you're getting a lot of commendation from our viewers.
Well, you are telling me.
From Sule Sunyai says, let's make Accra work. In fact, the minister is doing well, but we need attitudinal change before we will get there. God bless our visionary, okay, we know where this message is. God bless our visionary president, Nanado.
Here we go.
Thank you for sending your message. That's the good one. Thank you for sending your message as well. This man is the, okay, well, what do you have any suggestions about how to get this done anyway? So it says, this man is the best minister so far in the Nanado second term administration. There's going to be obstacles from within and outside his party, but the important thing for him is to remain resolute and stay focused, and to know that the citizenry is well behind him in this endeavor. I wish him well. So far, I would say so good. From Muntaka in Boku. Muntaka, thank you very much for sending in that message as well. So I just want to take your thoughts about, I mean, we're getting some commendations, etc. And people are saying, do what you have to do. But doing what you have to do also requires getting the people to buy in. What is your plan to sort of balance the intervention, so that in the same way where you have to use force, you use force, but in the same way where you have to actually get the people on board to understand why this is necessary? I mean, I'm sure that has come to you strongly in this since you started this project. Because
you've been following the program, I decided not to bore listeners by going back. But so far, right from the assumption of office, what we did, the RCC, with my very hard-working team, led by the indefatigable regional coordinating director, was to engage almost all stakeholders. But I started by engaging the members of parliament on both sides of the political divide, minority, majority. I had their blessing. I moved on to meet with former regional ministers, former mayor. You can go on and on and on. And what we've been doing so far is we don't just move in and then start demolishing. No, we engage. You know, Medina Zongo Junction, the MCE engaged them over a period. The scrap dealers, we give them time. For instance, onion dealers, we've been engaging them for almost a month and a half. And when that fails, you can be sure.
Are we there yet? Would you say it has failed? The talks have failed?
Well, they have so far, they are exhibiting bad faith, because we had a meeting and they agreed to the terms and everything, even promised, address the media, that they were going to go on or before the 1st July. And they are playing tricks around. So you see, they've been given the opportunity. The alternative arrangements has been made for them. So I don't think that anybody will falter RCC if we go in on 1st July to remove them. Okay. So, you know.
You've said on other platforms that President Akufo-Addo has your back. What makes you believe that?
Which platform was that? Can you quote it?
I can't quote it at the moment, but we know that.
Oh, you know?
Yes. We've heard you say that.
Where did I say this?
Does the president have your back?
Well, we are appointees of Mr. President, and we walk his talk. Mr. President says he wants to make Accra the cleanest city by the time he finishes his term of office. And that is what Henry Quarter with the RCC is doing. We are going to make sure we walk the president's talk, and by the grace of God, with the collective ideas and support of all, including the media, your good self, come 2025 January, I'm sure you sit here and say, Accra is clean. Mr. President, thank you.
What would you say to people within your party, for example, who will raise concerns about the political capital or the political fortunes that you may lose as a result of, stamping your foot on the ground and getting some of these things done?
I don't think we have gotten there yet. This is a clarion call, and we don't want to mix it up with political gains. We want the environment. We want to have an enabling environment, a peaceful environment, an environment that is clean, that we can go about our duties, make work, businesses should thrive, economy should work, and that kind of thing. And I'm sure that if we all put our eggs in one basket and say, look, let's get to this, by the end of this year, certainly we'll begin to see much improvement. 2022, we can sustain it by making sure that we don't go back to it. And then by 2023, I don't think anybody is going to say, well, you will lose election to Menya. So this is a time. And by the grace of God, as you said, no party member has complained. Nobody. There was a passing statement which was misrepresented, and that was corrected. And since then, we are making progress. So I think we should make progress.
We should make progress. No party member has complained. Sounds good. Some more messages before we wrap up. Please tell the minister that if he means well, then we are with him in prayer. Mohammed is sending this message from Tamale. As a visitor, says, hello to Joy. As I visit Ghana frequently, this is a number from the US. It doesn't add a name. Says, I visit Ghana frequently. Zoom Lion seems to be a total waste in Bono region. Is there a way for more attention paid to Brekum, Sunyain, and environs as to clean up? Thank you. This is, the Greater Accra Region Minister. So he says, as a visitor in 2019, you had to call Zoom Lion in Brekum to come and empty a garbage container that was overflowing right next to a church. Okay, thank you for your message and for taking the time. This one says, good afternoon. If you embark on this initiative by leaving environmental health officers who are technocrats behind as they started apportioning their jobs to different entities, it won't work for the government. I'm not sure what you're saying, but it looks as if the person is raising concerns about environmental health officers not being allowed to do their job. Is this a concern that has come to you?
No. You remember when I did say that we do recognize and acknowledge the existing laws. Now, once again, I did say that I don't have the locus, I don't have the power. RCC hasn't got the powers to go into an area and start doing this. The assemblies have been clothed with the powers, and each assembly has got a total representation of sectors like from education, all of them. They have got district directors for education, health, so the assemblies are a whole body on its own. And what we are saying is that all these exercises are being led by the assemblies. We collaborate with them. So definitely and certainly all the technocrats will be able to work. But we are saying that with the greatest of respect, we don't want to have technocrats sit in their offices and do capacity building. No, that time is past. You go onto the field, you make sure the work is done. And that's we will chase you. If you don't do it, we'll come after you. Oh, yes.
All right. Yeah. Please ask the minister, what is he doing at Kaneshi and La Paz, where Trotros have taken majority of the road? Again, the laws must work without fear or favor. Kaneshi and La Paz.
Well, the decongestion exercises, as I said, that's why I keep saying there's a starter. We did the Zongo Junction, and it's a pilot program. We've seen how it's working. Very soon we'll have some workshop with the assemblies and the presiding members, municipal coordinating directors, and then the bylaws will be spelled out. I'm sure you'll be there in the media. Once we finish that, we are going to hit the ground running. And the likes of Malam Junction to Kaneshi, Tema Runabout, going to Afienya, going to Aplawo, all the other places you can talk about. The assemblies are supposed to go there and ensure there is free flow of traffic and vehicular movement, blah, blah, blah. La Paz is going to be one of them. The MCE for that era started a good work about a year and a half ago, and everybody was complaining, human right here and there, and we are still comparing ourselves to Rwanda. So we are going to get there, but I pray that when we get there, but you send your cameras there and tell them, stop what you are doing. You're doing the wrong thing.
All right. So
Yes.
I've had another message talking about the environmental health officers, but this one is also saying that it should have been make Ghana work again. Well, there's the sector minister. He's focusing on his
I am in Greater Accra. I don't have the powers to do Ghana. I'm only doing Accra.
It appears, it says, my question to the minister, it appears that the cost of beautifying the environment by government is very high. And so where the government is limited financially, everything stops. What binding effort is his outfit putting on the citizenry to make sure everyone keeps their perimeter a beauty to behold? I don't know if you understand this question. He says, for example, a shop owner by a tarred road with a gutter keeps his perimeter clean. But when it rains, the sand is washed to fill the gutter. What is the plan to cover the land?
Well, maybe talking about covering open gutters and all that. But you see, when we make these suggestions, they're very laudable indeed. But then the question is, have we disciplined ourselves so much that when the gutters are covered, nobody is going to take a side and then push milk things and all that? And that is where the issue is. So we are saying that let us change our attitude, let us change our behavior, and couple it up with the assemblies or the law enforcement agencies to do their bits. Okay. That is why I say, I need you, you need me.
So I'll end with this question, and then I want you to speak briefly to Abosokan before you leave. He says, please, the Honorable Minister is doing a good job, but kindly inform him that he should try and provide basic PPEs like hand gloves and helmets for his people to prevent them from injuries. Nicholas, sending that message from Takrady.
Perfect. It's in order.
It's in order. Okay. Perfect. So, Nicholas, the minister is grateful for that. I'm sure the workers on the ground are also grateful. Abosokan, there's an issue where the leadership is seem to be saying one thing, and the people sometimes that you talk to also say another. What is really the plan to take them to Afienya? How feasible is that?
It is very feasible. We, as part of the stakeholder consultations, we met with Abosokan and Dakuma and Konkompe and all that. Dakuma and Konkompe revealed to us that indeed, again, during President Kufuor's time, quite a number of acres were acquired for them, and some has been encroached upon. But they are ready to voluntarily move from Dakuma. Today, when you go there, the vehicles that parks by the flanks are no more there. It's been decongested. And so efforts are in place for them to go to the area that originally was acquired for them. Then came Abosokan and the leadership themselves. It wasn't coming from us as an RCC, no. The leadership made very solid points. Today, we are aware that they have 5,000 stalls and about 7,000 tabletop businesses there. So you're looking at about 12,000 businesses there, and looking at people who are doing, I'm sure they call affairs or something. So Abosokan alone, houses close to about 40,000 people commuting in and out there. Now they are saying that although they are shop owners, they don't even have places of convenience, and they don't have all manner of things. And they think that they have outlived the purposes of working there. So they made this suggestion to Mr. President when he was then campaigning prior to the elections, that they want to be relocated. And as I said, we walk the president's talk. President promised them that, hey, if we win, by the grace of God, we'll do that. So just walking president's talk. We went there. They spoke to us and we said, okay, it will be good in this day, 21st century, to have a whole automobile hub. And those who go to Dubai is there. You go there and everything one-stop shop. So we want to move them to Afienya, where government is working very hard to release large acreage of land. I mean, we're talking close to about 600-700 acres, where we'll build a whole village for them. Now, once we are able to do it, it's a whole plan. Once we are able to do that, then we'll have a bylaw to kick in, where people will not be allowed to sell their vehicles anywhere in Accra anymore. So if you come and park your car here and say for sale, we'll come and tow it. Okay. If you want to sell your car, you take it there, because we allocate a place for people to sell their vehicles, motorbikes. So that is how we can now check the discipline in Accra. It will be in the Bible, you say it. So once we do that, you're not going to have cars being sold around and Belingpe, traffic, no.
So how are you dealing with the pushbacks that are coming?
No, the issue is that there's a miscommunication. You know, as part of the decongestion exercise, they readily said we needed to decongest that street for them. In ages, I mean, I don't know whether you've driven there before. It's not possible. So they misconstrued decongestion the street to be coming to relocate them. And relocating Abosuka cannot just be done like this. No. Yeah. We have to get them the land. They have to initiate the process, go through documentation. That can take about a year.
So this is purely miscommunication.
Oh, indeed. But then
they are dealing with it.
Their leaders have made their position that they want to be relocated. And that's a fact. They want to be relocated. And government will do so, help them to be relocated. And that we are doing.
Okay. We've run out of time. It's been an interesting conversation. I still have a lot of messages coming in, a lot of comments.
Good ones?
Actually good ones.
Let's hear them then. You know,
but we don't have time. Unless I can bring an invoice later.
Invoice?
And then we extend the time.
Well, never mind. You bring the invoice, we'll look at it, but we'll come in front of your house and see how we can balance it. You know, we'll find a few there. Then
if you find a few there, then you tell. Okay, but yes, I do have a lot of messages. The messages I'm getting in indicates that people are happy to see leaders who are working to fix our problems, and they're calling out, you know, fellow Ghanaians and saying that let's do the right, let
them join in the exercise collaboration.
Right. So you join in the exercise, but also not be a hypocrite and send messages and say do this when you yourself are keeping your environment.
Thank you very much.
Right. So we'll wrap it up here. Mr. Minister, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Coming into the studio. But along the line, when the issues come up, we'll have more conversations about it and see how we can fix it and make Accra work together.
Remember to inform the public as well. That's your duty. Inform them.
We do.
Balance the reportage. It's not always the front page story.
That's our trademark. Absolutely. We do it so perfectly.
Wonderful.
Here at JoyNews. I've been having a conversation with Minister for the region, the Greater Accra Region Minister, Henry Quartey. You're watching The Pulse with me, Gifty and Dopia. Well, the siren abuse, it's something that we wanted to talk about. I think the minister touched on it, but you gave them a timeline.
Yes.
You gave them a timeline.
Yes.
How are you going to implement that? People have asked and said.
Well, we will do that. You see, usually I don't like to do too much of the talking. The action speaks for itself. So when that deadline is over, you'll see in Accra.
I'm just trying to have a mental picture where I see people rush through, or I live on the Spintex.
Don't worry about that, madam. We will deal with it.
You will deal with it. We'll see how it goes. Right. That was something that I forgot, and I wanted to quickly chip that in. So thank you for indulging me on that. We want to take a very quick break. When we return, we'll take you to the Supreme Court. Well, Fix the Country seems to have had a win there. We'll talk you through it. But thank you so much for being a part of this particular conversation. Let's make Accra work together for all of us. We'll be right back. Welcome back and thank you for staying. The Deputy Minister Designate for Employment and Labour Relations, Bright Rekobrobe, says strikes by government employees are inevitable. He says strikes will always happen and all government will be able to do is manage it. He also says that strikes are not exactly bad. He's been responding to questions at the sitting of Parliament's Appointment Committee, from where Joseph Opoku Gakpo is joining me with more. Hello, Joseph.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Joseph. It's good to have you. Is the vetting of this Deputy Minister Designate over?
Precisely. So the vetting for today just ended. The last individual who was vetted is actually the Deputy Minister Designate for the Ministry of Roads and Highways, Mavis Nkansa Bwedu. So there were a number of questions to her about what is being done to improve upon the road networks in the country. So that was actually done a while ago. Apart from her, Bright Rekobrobe, who is headed to the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations, was also vetted today. There were questions to him about the number of jobs that have been created by government ever since the NPP administration took over. And he gave an interesting figure of 3.8 million as the total number of jobs that the NPP government has created since 2017, up from the 3 million figure that his minister had given, looking at the duration of between 2017 and September 2020, when Ignatius Bafwewu appeared before Parliament's Appointment Committee. So there were other questions to him as well about the minimum wage and whether it was adequate enough, and he indicated that government is taking all the necessary steps to improve upon the lives of people. There was a question to him as well about what is being done to resolve various issues of strike. You recall the latest one being the strike by the Ghana biomedical scientists, and the response that he gave was that strikes are inevitable. It would happen virtually on daily basis, and that it's how government takes steps to resolve it that is actually the main issue. So he responded to questions on that as well. Two other nominees also appeared before the committee today, including the Deputy Minister Designate for the Defense Ministry, and then we had a fourth Deputy Minister appear today. So those have been the four individuals who actually appeared before the committee for the vetting today. And from what we gather, the committee is going ahead to recommend all of them for the necessary approval.
Well, Joseph, the minority in Parliament, apart from these vettings, is demanding what they're calling an apology from President Akufo-Addo, talking about COVID-19 because they flouted the COVID-19 protocols during the funeral of former CEO of the Forestry Commission. We had the Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak, who says the incident puts Ghana's efforts against the pandemic in danger. Tell us a bit more about that conversation.
So this is something that Muntaka Mubarak, who is the Minority Chief Whip, has actually been raising and insisting that what we saw at the funeral of Kujo Sofiye, popularly known as Sir John, was actually out of place and should really not have happened, all other things being equal. And he thinks that the president owes the people of Ghana an apology for how come a lot of individuals moved into the space and COVID-19 protocols were breached. He makes the point that the president who set out the executive instruments that requires the necessary social distancing and all shouldn't be seen as breaching this. And he is more worried that the president, the vice president, and key government officials were all present at the event when the said breaches happened, which should not be happening. Otherwise, we would not end up encouraging a lot of people to actually respect those protocols. So there's been other suggestions on how issues should be dealt with going forward, even after we got the indication that a case of COVID-19 has been recorded here in Parliament. Yes. One of them.
And Joseph, just a quick one. I wanted to bring in
from those on the.
Bring in the Minority Chief Whip himself, Muntaka Mubarak, so we can hear him talk, and then we can come to the fresh COVID case that has been recorded in Parliament. Joseph, we'll come to you shortly. So let's listen to Honorable Muntaka Mubarak made the point.
We are insisting that everybody should observe the protocol, and we are doing the other thing. It reinforces the belief that, oh, we are just playing with them, but what we are saying is not true. And that also can affect the vaccination program. Because it's when you believe that COVID is real that you take steps to do the vaccination. So if we are not observing the protocols, maybe because we think we've taken the first and second jab. Remember, even with the first and second jab, it is still said that you only have, I think, up to 90 or 95%. There's still a 5% range that you could get. So I believe that what happened in the Sedon thing was very unfortunate. And if I were the president, I would apologize to the country for that. Even though maybe that as the president, I wasn't in charge of the funeral, but getting there and seeing what was happening there, maybe the president should have moved away to insist. I've gone to programs, they will tell you in my constituency where I'm in charge of the program. I had to carry nose masks, insisted for almost 1.5 hours they should bring enough nose masks to give everybody there before I come to address them. We are concerned, very, very concerned. Over the weekend, I was in my constituency. Almost every gathering that I went, I had to complain. Few of us were looking odd with the nose masks and insisting on social distancing. People want to sit in a closed place, you insist that no, let's sit in the open. And I'm sorry to tell you, as we speak, I don't know whether Speaker may be announcing it tomorrow, one of us has gotten COVID again here. And as we speak, he is at the what do you call treatment center. And unfortunately, he's infected all his family, even though they don't have symptoms. We are only praying that he gets well soon. He's stable, and we are hoping that he's going to get over. He has gotten the first jab. At least he claims he got the first jab, he didn't take the second. We want to encourage all of us to have at the back of our mind that COVID is not gone. Let's continue to take the protocol seriously. Let's continue to observe all the protocol It's just too unfortunate that as leaders of this country, that needs to set exemplary life. We went for this John, and the president was there, the vice president was there, and everything went haywire. It's sad that when the church went to the trade fair, they were being prosecuted. Now you have the head of state who signed the executive instrument with the vice president and all the others. Unfortunately, they were not observing the protocol. It's very unfortunate. I believe that things like this make people believe that, oh, we are just making mockery of them. COVID is not real. Because look, you go to the interland, the rural areas, the poor community, they just think that COVID is not real.
So those are the concerns being raised by the minority chief whip. Joseph, we know that a new case has been recorded in Parliament. You were talking about, okay, looks like I've lost Joseph Opoku Gakpo, but we understand that there has been a fresh case of COVID-19 recorded in Parliament, and the House is working on, fixing that problem, whether or not they'll have to. Why? Joseph joins me on phone right now. Hello, Joseph. Yes, I do hear you loud and clear. So you were telling me about the fresh COVID-19 case that has been recorded in Parliament.
And so these are the details that we're gathering, that a member of Parliament has actually tested positive. He had been ill for quite a while. Over the weekend, a COVID test was taken, and it's now that he's actually COVID positive. And the additional details that we're gathering is that this member of Parliament has actually taken his first COVID-19 jab with
the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, but he hadn't taken the second one yet from what we are told. And the indication is that even beyond himself, members of his family have also tested positive, and the members of the family are all in quarantine as we speak. We're expecting today that in terms of enhancing COVID-19 measures and MPs being urged to go ahead and prepare themselves for their second jab. This was a conversation that was likely to happen on the floor today, but that never happened. We gather that leadership is still in deliberation on the next steps that should be taken so that MPs generally will be protected. But then yes, that's the development that's coming up, that an MP has tested positive. From what we're gathering, he was ill for a while, but is currently in a very stable condition. And the indication is that this would end up reviving the necessary efforts to ensure better social distancing and the enforcement of various COVID-19 protocols in the House.
Just before you go, Joseph, the vetting, so we know that you indicated that there will be approvals, but we're also hearing about Andrew Ejapa Mensah's approval, that there is an issue with it. Tell us.
So what usually happens is that when the committee finishes vetting on each day, those that they vet, they take a decision on whether they are recommending the approval or otherwise. And then the committee then gets to putting together their reports to bring to the plenary for the necessary approval. Yesterday, after the committee sat, they decided that they would recommend the 3 other MPs who were vetted yesterday for the necessary approval, but they withheld approval for Andrew Ejapa Mensah as Deputy Energy Minister for 2 main reasons. First of all, because then they had concerns that he had disagreed with the Energy Minister, then Peter Mbau, when the Energy Minister then said that the PDS deal was abrogated with ECG based on fraud. He thinks that there was no case of fraud, and then there were concerns that he was involved in PDS one way or the other, because a firm that he was company secretary of, TGS Energy Solutions, was part of the PDS consortium. Based on that, the minority said they wanted to review some tapes and do some more consultation in order to decide whether or not they would back his approval. But we gather that earlier today, the committee met again in closed door, and they've decided that those issues are not issues that they would really want to hold against him and pull brakes on his approval as Deputy Minister based on. And so the minority MPs have withdrawn their consents, and at their subsequent meeting today, the committee has okayed him for the necessary approval for him to then become Deputy Minister for the Energy Ministry. So the report that will eventually come to the floor would recommend the approval of Ejapa Mensah as well for the role of Deputy Minister for Energy. Gifty.
Joseph, thank you very much, and I'll leave you to clean up the sweat so far. Joseph Opoku Gakpo there joining me from Parliament. He's our parliamentary correspondent. Well, as you know, Andrew Japamesa's approval, which was, delayed, will be pushed through, as Joseph reports. Now, despite a pending case at the High Court, the Fix the Country protesters today chalked a major legal victory. They had been indefinitely barred by the Accra High Court from staging a street protest till COVID-19 restrictions on public gathering are lifted. Their lawyers described this as unlawful and proceeded to seek the intervention of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has upheld their contention. Court correspondent Joseph Akable has the rest of the story.
Hashtag Fix the Country for weeks trended on social media as citizens made calls for various challenges they've identified either in their immediate environment or affecting the nation as a whole to be fixed. It then took a different form when some individuals indicated a desire to pour onto the streets on May 9 to press home the demand for better conditions of living. That May 9 protest did not happen as the Ghana Police Service on May 6 secured a court order barring the group from engaging in any street protest, with the order indicating that they are restrained until such a time that the appropriate authority lifts the restrictions on public gathering relative to COVID-19. The protesters took the view that that particular order was in error, as once they were not made parties to that particular application that led to a grant of the order, it meant that under law, the court should have granted the order to last for just 10 days. And so they brought the matter to the Supreme Court, asking that the Supreme Court intervenes and sets that particular order aside. The Attorney General's office disagreed and argued that that particular order, by operation of law, was to last for 10 days. And so despite the expression that suggests that it was indefinite, it was actually supposed to last 10 days. The AG further argued that it elapsed on May 16, and so as it stands now, there is no order in force requiring the intervention of the court to set it aside. The court, in ruling on the matter, the decision read by Justice Yawapel did indicate that that order was in error, as the position of the law is that it should have been granted for 10 days. And so the court proceeded to set aside those portions of the order that bar the group from protesting until such a time that an appropriate authority lifts the restrictions on public gathering. Despite this victory, there is still a pending case at the High Court. This time around, it was filed by the Ghana Police Service on notice, meaning that the protesters have the opportunity to argue, and that particular case is also seeking to restrain them from embarking on a street protest. But that case has been adjourned to June 14 at the High Court, where the court is supposed to hear legal arguments as to why it should grant an order barring the group from engaging in a street protest. But for now, there is no order in force stopping the street protest. A pending case, however, remains outstanding. Reporting for JoyNews from the Supreme Court, my name is Joseph Akable.
Joseph Akable with that report. It's been good having you share the company with me this hour. We're back tomorrow, God willing, but for now we leave you with Let's Talk Showbiz. But let me tell you about myjoyonline.com and our stories that you're already reading so far. Supreme Court sets aside High Court order that indefinitely barred Fix the Country campaigners from demonstrating. That's the story many of you are reading. You want to click on that story and share it with your contacts as well. We have other stories beneath there. All of them come with a handle through which you can share. So go ahead and do your friends some good. Let them know what the news is. Share it with them. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. It's a pleasure coming your way. Let's do it again tomorrow. Let's go.